Good afternoon, everyone. This is John Hill, CEO for TechStage Solutions, and I'm right here on the strategic playing deck again. We got a little something different today. A couple of great friends have come into town for an event tomorrow, and I convinced them to come out here and sit on the deck, drink a little wine. So, well, he's got bourbon. She's got bourbon. I'm the only wine drinker, so that's okay. But Amelia,
have a drink on the deck.
That's right. We're having a drink on the deck. So it's kind of a relaxed time. We're just going to kind of have a little bit of free flow association here, I think, from our discussion earlier. But I'd like to toss it over to Amelia and let her introduce herself and where she's coming from, who she's with, and a little bit about why you, whether you're a managed IT provider, whether you're a business owner, should be going to industry type events to learn more about the different factors that are impacting all of us every day. So, Amelia.
Thank you, John, for inviting me back. This is my second time on the
Yes,
Thoughts on the Deck. Last time I was here was with Mark Winter from Rapid Fire Tools, another one of our friends. So thank you for having me back. It's
You're
great
welcome.
to be here in your lovely backyard, Thoughts from the Deck, and with your dogs. And for those of you who have been under a rock in the last 10 years, dogs are great. We love them. So anyways, thank you for having me. So my name is Amelia Paro. I'm a former recovering MSP. I left my MSP to join ID Agent. So if you're not familiar with who I am, I have been part of the ID Agent team, and then 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, I like to say. Kaseya acquired ID Agent, and then I represented all the Kaseya products. And now I've moved into a similar but different role. So what I do now is I am in charge of the Kaseya and Datto Connect locals, and I put together and host customer events, IT professional, MSP, IT tech industry events. They're local, they're smaller, they're more intimate, but I do events around the country, 2 to 3 a week. So why am I mentioning that? So the value of going to a tech event, and as an MSP, I went to tech events. It is where we were able to learn what was coming up in like the new products, see the new vendors, get some industry education, right? So there's huge value in that. And also, if you are a customer of any specific venue, it doesn't matter what vendor it is, going to their events, you can learn what's coming up on the roadmap for the products is hugely beneficial. So in generalities, right, going to a tech event, whether you are a managed services provider, an IT consultant, a VAR, value-added reseller, or you are internal IT. So you are part of an enterprise, you are IT director, you're a network admin, CIO, VCIO, any of those roles. If you are involved in any way with providing IT for an organization, whether it's a customer or your own organization, and it runs a gamut of compliance, operations, all of that, right? So anyone who's involved with IT at all, technology for a business, going to industry events is hugely beneficial. And there's a lot out there. Trust me, there is a lot out there to choose from. The Connect Locals, what we try to do is we want it to be a more intimate event, which, look, whether or not you've been to the big events where there's 4,000 people there and it's 4 days and it's wherever it is, it's great. It's drinking from the fire hose. But what I like to do is I like to take that and boil that down to a single day event. So we feed you lunch, and then we do 4 or 5 hours worth of sessions, and it's educational content. It's thought leadership. It's product knowledge. We're talking to you about what's going on in the IT industry landscape, the state of security from an IT tech landscape. And really keeping you abreast of current trends and, what's going on right now and what's important to know. Compliance, cyber liability insurance, big one, right? cyber threats, which, is constantly evolving and changing. And presenting you as the attendee with products and solutions that may or may not be a fit. And the benefit is that you get to review these solutions, these products, and the thought leadership and the education that's included with it. And you never know. It may not fit you now, but maybe next year, or you move to another organization. You switch roles, you switch jobs, you switch companies, and it's a fit there. So having that knowledge and being presented with the different options is hugely beneficial. And for me, the Kaseya Connect locals that I do, they're single day events, and I know that everyone is crazy busy. We all are. We do single day events. We'll feed you lunch. We'll give you a couple hours of education and product showcase, review different products. That runs a gamut from sales and marketing to cybersecurity to compliance to insurance to networking to backup, like all these critical components which are universal. It doesn't matter if you are a managed services provider or an IT consultant or a VCIO or your internal IT. These are things that are absolutely necessary regardless of the business that you're in. So having being able to experience and see what's out there is one of the most beneficial things. And especially our events are a single day. They're free. We'll feed you. We'll give you educational content. We'll send you on your way. You'll be home for dinner. Right? It's a good way to get a boiled down version of the big 4-day $4,000 or the 4,000 attendee industry conferences. Not everyone can attend those. I get it. We get it. But my goal is to boil that down and bring it to you in your city for a single day. So that's what I do. And I've come from the background of being a managed services provider. I've come from a background of providing IT services for enterprise organizations. I've been in a technical sales role, and now I'm taking all of that knowledge from all that experience that I've had, and I'm using it to create and develop these single day events that are truly beneficial for regardless of your role, internal IT or MSP. A single day that is going to provide you maximum value for spending your time. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Awesome.
That's what I
Awesome. Thank you. And that's where a lot of things have come out for me as far as Amelia asked me to speak at some of these Connect locals around the country because of my focus on compliance, as many of you that have watched a lot of these episodes are familiar with. So it's given me an opportunity to get out and share a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of experience with other managed IT providers, with a whole gamut of other folks. And so it's been a huge benefit to me. So I really appreciate Amelia bringing me along on the ride on that because it has been great. So with that note, I'm going to bring in Wayne Hunter, a good friend of mine up from a little bit north of here. And Wayne's also focused in compliance. That's how we initially got together, met each other, and started collaborating on things. So Wayne, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm just here to look pretty and drink
And you do it so well. You do it so well.
Thank you very much.
Fine
Thank you
job,
very much.
yeah.
You should have that your tagline on LinkedIn. I'm just here to look pretty.
There you go. I'll let my marketing coordinator.
Yes.
As John said, we've known each other for a little while, and him and Beth, and I've got to know them as more than just business colleagues, but friends. So we've been talking about doing this for a little while, and finally was able to make one. But as we talked, we collaborated on a book together in CMMC, and I don't really change CMMC business. I do more of compliance and security and finance in other environments, but as an old Navy guy, I'm just a glutton for punishment. I just wanted to get involved in it and do it.
Sure.
No, but there's another alternative to it, because if you really look at what happens in the government and stuff like that, and compliance there, sooner or later it's going to leak down to the commercial environment.
Yep.
We all know that. What most people don't know, it's been there the whole time.
Right.
It's just now got teeth to it today. But we'll talk about a bunch of different things. But I've been doing this for, I don't really want to say that number. That's a long time. I've been doing it a long time. And I come from the VAR spaces, as she describes, value added reseller. I come from the enterprise space. And I, as a VAR, MSP, we do security, we do compliance. And I think what I wanted to do here today, what was interesting about this is, before there was talk, okay, what are we going to talk about? We're going to go down this vertical, we're going to do this. And it's like, let's just have a conversation. Just a bunch of friends here, have a toddy and talk and get a relationship going. Y'all hear us talk about technology all the time. You hear us talking about business all the time. But what I like to do is talk about just how it affects our lives, how does it affect our employees, how does it affect our clients' employees, because we're all family one way or another.
Right.
You know, so I always had the idea of, if I'm talking to somebody, I'm going to talk to you the same way as I'm going to talk to my brother, my mother, my father. Doesn't matter. Let's have that conversation and come into it, because the biggest thing that I find that in our job today is there's so much jargon out there that
So
makes
much
it
noise.
difficult,
Yeah.
right?
So much noise.
So much noise.
And a lot of it is fear mongering. It
Yes.
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's more about, let's have a conversation, and let's just put it into layman terms what it really means, to where now you can grasp it and have a conversation. So, I mean, it was kind of funny. We was talking about events. We do events. I think everybody should go to them. If you're MSP, you should go have a booth at an event and get that experience, because it's going to tell you a lot. You're going to learn a lot about people. I was just doing a banking event, and we talked about compliance earlier. It was like, okay, that's the dirty word, right? We're at a banking conference, which they're heavy regulated, right?
Oh, completely.
They know all this. They get it. But this one event I go to, they're very good about driving the actual client base to the vendors. So when they come out the room, they lined up. It's like a centipede. They go down the other end, and they're going down every booth. So we're like here, me and my CISO sitting here, and we're getting ready, got our spiel down right, we're ready to go. And they come to this booth, and then they hopped over a booth and kept going right down. So there's this void, and I'm like, I turn around, and on our sign it says compliance. I'm like, well, I know what. So I just went out in front. I said, okay, everybody, I get it. Compliance scares you. We'll make it easy. Come see us. And everybody cracked up. That's what you got to do. If you're a client out there and you got a vendor talking to you and they're talking jargon, just stop them. Say, let's talk real terms.
Exactly.
Don't be afraid to ask us to say, man, I don't get it. Let's talk about how it really affects me from a normal way.
And honestly, I think that's a differentiator between those of us that have been on both sides, both the enterprise and also now in the managed services provider, IT consultant. I think where we really succeed is that we don't use a lot of jargon. It's just real talk. It's real talk, right? So compliance. Yes, compliance can be a dirty word, and a lot of people don't want to, like, what does that mean, compliance?
Yeah.
Well, the government is dictating a lot of this, and it trickles down fast and sometimes slow. But at the end of the day, there's fines, there's penalties, there's things that, depending on your business, some apply to all, and some compliance regulations apply to a specific few. But at the end of the day, we are all beholden to compliance regulations, which is IT, which is technology, and it's a process of doing things. And as a business, yes, there are dogs in the background, and everybody loves dogs, so
They got to get their fun.
they do. They're supporting us. They're
Exactly.
supporting us. They're supporting us. They say yes. Compliance is a dirty word. But look, at the end of the day, I mean, we are all beholden in some way, shape, or form. And just because you don't understand it doesn't mean you are excused from it. So the best thing you can do as a business, look, it's not fun. Nobody said it was going to be fun. But if you have at least a partner that you can rely on to explain it to you in real terms, in layman's terms. Okay, so yes, there's this compliance coming from the government. It's confusing, but this is what it really means. That is hugely beneficial to you.
I think one of the things is we all got to understand is we all look at it, whether it's compliance, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's, we're already doing it.
Yeah.
You just don't realize you're doing it.
Yep.
And really what it boils down is, we talk cybersecurity, and what I try to get people to understand is, when you talk about cybersecurity, do you have antivirus? Well, yeah. I said, okay, you're doing part of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Do you have a firewall? Yes. You're already doing part of cybersecurity. you're doing a lot of things. You're just not talking about it in that construct.
And you're not documenting it in a way that
Now
if,
you're talking compliance when you talk about
Thank you.
documentation.
See?
Now you switch. But that's a perfect
it's
analogy.
all part of the same. Yeah.
Compliance is about documentation
As
and
a
proof.
business,
That's it.
you're doing most of it. You just don't realize that you are.
Right.
And having an expert like Wayne or John come in and be like, okay, you're already doing this. And if you document it in this way, that means you're compliant with these regulations. But a lot of businesses, a lot of us don't know, okay, what are the regulations I need to be compliant for? What am I doing that adheres? And a lot of it seems really complicated, but a lot of it is you're already doing, and you just need someone who knows the ins and outs and can say, hey, you're already doing this. All you need to do is write it down that you're doing this and you're compliant, right? How are we supposed to know that? We don't know what we don't know. And that's why John and Wayne, these are the things that these guys provide.
Let's flip the script a little bit here. Let's talk about it this way because, yeah, we're calling all these folks, right? We got our
Are you calling them
SDRs and all
personally?
that. Some I do. But I got teams that call.
So if you get a call from Wayne,
Yeah.
you need to answer.
Yeah, yes, I like that. But one of the things you have to think about here is you may have an MSP working for you already. Or just think about your own IT team. And they're coming to you and saying, you need to do these things. Okay? So think about this. From my perspective, when I've got a client, you'll have cybersecurity in place or I won't do business with you. You'll do compliance or I'm not going to do business with you. And here's why. It's because as soon as I sign a contract with a client, I'm assuming shared liability. Now, a lot of MSPs out there, a lot of IT companies don't realize this. And this is a question you need to ask because actually when it comes to it, I've got shared liability, but it's not my responsibility. It actually is the client's responsibility.
Yes and no.
That's right.
I mean,
Ultimately, per the latest FTC from the Security Summit,
good. Okay.
it is their responsibility. Now, am I still liable?
most lawyers
Yes.
would disagree with you.
Depends on whether they're an insurance lawyer or not. But no, with the Congress Bill 300, it actually defines it in there.
Right, and that's it. That I mean, so as your average business owner, your average IT person in an enterprise organization, I don't know about you, but I don't spend all my life on C-SPAN listening to what Congress has delegated
No.
because I want to actually have a life and not kill myself.
Well, it seems like there's more of that coming out of Congress and the White House
There's so
every
much that
day.
we don't
There is.
know.
And unless someone's keeping track of it for
Exactly.
they can really understand and explain it. And that's what Wayne and I devote a lot of time to, is making sure that we understand that for our clients and for others that might just call in.
Right, which is
because
why your
we're-
clients hire
exactly.
you. Because I, for one, as a business person, I do not want to listen to I don't want to deal with that. That's why I would hire you guys to do that. Because you are the experts and you're tapped into what the latest compliance and government mandates are that are coming down. Right, and that's why a business, that's why you outsource to an expert like John, like Wayne, and whether it be for cybersecurity or compliance, or just to stay on top of what the latest mandates are coming from the government, or all three. This is what they do best. This is what they live for, and that's what you pay them for.
To that, John, you and I get this conversation all the time is you'll hear, well, I don't do business with the government.
Oh, you
Right.
think you don't?
Right? And then some
Everyone does.
are correct, some's not. It coming into that. But what I boil it down to is, and this is where we all agree is whether you have a DoD contract, whether you don't. You may be a sub to somebody that does have a contract. Now that actually you inherit that.
Or
Exactly.
you may be a
So for
sub
the
of a
CME
sub,
side,
and you don't know.
You still inherit it
You're
because
still-
it's inheritance all
Yep.
the way down now. That used to stay at the prime, but it
And
doesn't
the
anymore.
penalties of that.
Right? And you're
Just
dealing
saying
with
you
that. from the
don't know
CME
is
side.
not enough. The penalties of that can kill your business.
Well, and that's the key. For so long in so many of the industries, there hadn't really been any penalties to speak of for
Everyone's
not being
cracking down.
compliant. You may say, no, bad person, you should be compliant
Thank you,
with that.
HIPAA.
But yeah, HIPAA,
It only took
you,
10
HIPAA.
years to really start.
HIPAA got started with
yes.
that, but now it's really flowing through to where there's actually teeth in these
And there
compliance
is.
requirements
Yep.
to either make you do it or potentially make you go out of business or pay huge fines or anything like that. So So it's really important across the board for any business to really understand and talk to someone if you don't, if you have some type of compliance requirement that your specific industry or specific business has to have.
And it's not a huge financial uplift, right?
Right.
Because you don't know what you don't know. So it's worth it just to check and see where you're at, do a pulse check as a business to find out. And you may be doing a lot of things that are compliant already and just not documenting it, but you won't know unless you talk to experts like John, like Wayne.
They're dealing with one right now that affects everybody. It was what we was talking about earlier is cybersecurity insurance affects, I don't care what business.
Every business.
Every business that's out there.
Because cyber attacks affect every single business. It doesn't matter if you are an Uber driver, a solo entrepreneur, or a mom and pop pizza shop. It does not matter.
I had an interesting phone call. And you talk about insurance, you talk with customers, and they say, yeah, they hit us with all these questions, all this. I actually got a phone call from an insurance underwriter because one of their insurance broker companies called them and said, can you give me your NIST assessment? And they went, then he calls me and says, can I do a NIST assessment for him so he can actually do it? So even the underwriters that's actually writing all these dang policies,
And in order to get approved for insurance,
they're having to do the same thing.
What is the pamphlet now? It's gone from three pages to...
The longest one I've seen so far is 103 pages. That's the longest one I've seen for a questionnaire.
Yep.
That's the biggest.
And it's all lawyerese.
Oh, God, yes.
It's difficult to understand. And I've run into the same thing to where I've talked to several insurance agents that are writing cyber policies. And they've come to me and said, John, we're doing this, but I'm not really sure what we're doing. Can you explain some of this to me? And so they're serving all these things, these questionnaires and all, without really having a clear understanding of what it's asking. And a lot of them are answering it incorrectly because they're not getting outside help to help explain it to them. And that can open them up to just huge liabilities. So.
And don't feel lonesome about this. Don't feel overwhelmed with this because one of the things is, one of the industries I deal with every day is banking and financial services.
Hugely regulated.
Okay, which is one of outside the DOD is one of the most regulated you can find out there. And I deal with banks that they don't get it right. So if you think about this, in a study that was done about 3-4 years ago, at that point in time, banks were being fined over $243 billion for non-compliance.
Which is a drop in the bank for banks. But I mean, it's.
I mean,
Still a lot of money.
their audits and all this stuff is going into it.
It's painful.
And they know what it is, and there's things where they'll look and go do this.
That's banking. So imagine if you're a single business.
Exactly.
Can you afford that? No.
So banks right now, they spend on average $10,000 to $15,000 an employee per year. That for compliance.
Minimum, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah. It's just all what it averages. It varies as everything. But all of that, you get into it and look at it is, the biggest problem they have is like everybody else, even the big ones. It's budget and resource. Budget and resource. We all have that problem. I don't care how big a company we are, right? Yep. We fight with that every day, Beth, you fight with budget and resource every day, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, but one of the things is, that's one of the things that when you're doing these things, there's ways to do it and get within compliance frameworks without having to break the bank. And that's what a lot of people did. I'm talking with banks now when I show them what we do. So the programs we put together to actually help automate compliance and documentation, evidence. So when they get asked, they got it. When we tell them how much we can do it for, they look at us going, how do you do that? Our people can't do that. Well, that's the reason why you hire us, right?
Exactly.
But we're doing that every day. We're focused on it every day, where you need to be focused on your business. That's my ultimate goal, is to have a client is you're successful. And I grade my people on their success directly proportional to my client's success. And I think you do the same thing.
Exactly.
When you had your MSP, you did the same thing.
Yeah.
So, you can look at it as like, oh, they're trying to sell me something again.
But it's not
What
that
I want you to understand is I want you to be successful, because as long as you're successful, you
Look,
can
you don't
pay
know what
me.
you don't
Exactly.
know as a business owner. So at the end of the day, this long-winded, the great conversation, what we're trying to say is, if you're a business owner, you're an IT professional within an enterprise organization or an MSP, at the end of the day, there are things, the compliance mandates that are constantly coming down from the government, and it's okay that you don't know, right? It's okay, and you don't know what you don't know. So especially if you're a business, reach out to those that do, and it will save you more than it will cost you to reach out to John and Wayne, the experts.
Go to those
that
events
know.
you're talking about, you'll learn a lot.
Right, and that's how you find people like John and Wayne, is you go to industry tech events. Right, so kind of wrapping this all up, what we're talking about is go to industry events, reach out to your managed service provider in your area, and if there isn't one in your area that specializes in compliance and cybersecurity, then reach out to John or Wayne, because these guys have been doing this for
Okay.
a long time.
Be careful. Be careful.
Not as long as I've been doing it, but I'm a girl, so like Botox is my best friend. So I'm actually older than these guys are, but I'm basically plastic. So.
I'm the cute one here. Now,
I know Wayne is just here to be pretty.
I even groomed up for this
He
one.
did, yeah. No, but seriously, like, I mean, we joke, we talk about this, and there's a lot of heavy content here, but literally, at the end of the day, if you're a business, you're IT ops, you're a business owner, right? Compliance, government sanctions, when it comes to cybersecurity and compliance, they affect all businesses. If you don't know, that's okay. Really, you don't know what you don't know, right? And rather than being fined for it because you don't know what you don't know, reach out to an expert who will know, who does know, and that is their sole job, is to stay on top of that, and they'll let you know. And trust me, these guys are cheaper than a lawyer, 100%.
Much cheaper.
Was we supposed to take over this whole thing? I mean, you
Yes.
already said nothing.
You are the guests, so
Okay,
I
that's
always
a good
like to
idea.
encourage my guests
All
to
right.
speak quite freely and
So back to
frankly.
you, John.
Back to you, John.
Well, thank you to both of you for being here today. It's been
Anytime.
great. Some great information. And for those of you that are watching this, if you would like to talk to Wayne or Amelia or myself, I'll be sure and include the contact information in the post. But I'd love to talk to you. Just a short meeting. There's no obligation.
Yep.
And for myself, you can go to www.texagesolutions.com. And there's a place that you can choose to have a short meeting with me. And again, there's no obligation on it. And I'd love to talk to you if you got any questions. Or likewise, with Wayne and Amelia. So thanks for watching, and
Salute.
Cheers.
Enjoyed it.
Here's a bourbon and red wine and good conversation, IT and compliance, making it fun. Here we go.